everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into the Grid Exclusive. I am your host, Alexis K. Owens, an intern here at the NC Central TV Studio. Have you ever been invested into a binge-worthy TV show only to find out your character has acted on his last scene? Well, I know of someone who experienced that same exact feeling with their favorite basketball player. Here's the video. Please help me give a warm welcome to NC Central men's basketball coach, Mr. LeVelle Moton, and basketball player Larry McKnight Jr. What's up, you guys? How are you doing?
What's happening? How you doing?
Doing good, pretty good.
Thank you so much for coming into the studio and hanging out with me today. So I have a question for both of you guys. Did you guys expect for the video to go viral and be seen on platforms such as Complex Magazine, Sports Center, and BET?
I really didn't. It was shocking when the next day when how I got out there. But it's also a blessing though to see how that story get out there, to spread it to people, see how you can be a big impact to certain people in this world.
What about you, Coach?
I didn't. You know, it's just part of our program. Each week we share a video, you know, just to keep people informed of what's going on behind the scenes. A lot of times it's about the players or, you know, the children or whatever it's going to be. And, you know, it was just a typical random post for us. And I saw that it began to catch wildfire after a short amount of time. So
I seen the video on your page. I want to say, did it reach up to 1 million views on your page?
Yeah, it's like 1.5 or something like that. Someone told me. I don't even know how to check all that stuff.
I was gonna ask, how'd you find out about it?
Yeah, I just posted it, and then, you know, my social media began to blow up, and, you know, it was a bunch of retweets, and now you're getting this mention, that mention, and, you know, I've kind of been in it before, so I know how I feel. And then it's people asking questions, and now they start to ask for interviews and things of that nature. So it was a touching story.
Wow, Larry, how does it feel to have someone so young to be inspired by you and look up to you?
I think it's a blessing to have somebody look up to me like that. I'm an only child, so like I always been by myself, just so I always wanted a little brother or something. So he gives me that, and I really appreciate him for that.
You're an only child. At what age did you get inspired by basketball? Like, what brought the love for the game to you?
I started playing when I was 4.
4 years old?
Yeah, my mom and dad put me at the Optimist Park, and I just started playing a whole bunch of sports, and basketball really just stuck out to me.
You said the Optimist Park?
Optimist Park.
Yeah. Coach Moton, when did VJ develop that Larry would be his favorite player? When did you notice that?
You know, it was really weird, man. I tell people this all the time, like, kids and dogs, they have this keen sense. They have this spirit that you just can't fool them. And it was last year we were playing on the road, and Larry wasn't playing a whole lot, and VJ was actually in pre-K at the time, and they were learning their numbers around the same time. And we came home from a road game, and VJ said, "Daddy, I'm telling you, Zero is the hero." And that was his cliche, and I was like, where did he get this stuff from? But I just thought it was because he was learning the number 0 that week, that he was centered on that number. I put Larry in the game the following game because I was like, look, this must be a sign of God. And I think he had his best game. I think he had like 22 points. So I'm looking at this kid like, you know, what are you really talking about? And from that point on, you know, my son watches the games, and, you know, obviously he know a couple of NBA basketball players and so on and so forth, but this is his number 1 guy.
That's his
number one. And when he meet those guys, whether it's Kyrie or Jason Tatum or John Wall, he tell them like, y'all number 2 behind Larry McKnight. So he's a loyal customer.
So how do you create this family dynamic relationship with your team?
You know, it's really difficult. I had to accept the fact, you know, just as a leader, that these guys didn't grow up like me. You know, when I played, When my coach went one way, you went the other, and you didn't want to see him again until you came back to practice. These guys are a little different. They're a little needier, and they just want to come sit up under you and just talk. And so I started having a bunch of team meals at my house to create that family environment. And a lot of the times, the things that we talk about, we don't really talk about basketball a whole lot. It's just a bunch of life stories, and I just want these guys to know what awaits them outside of the world. Eventually, they'll understand that you care for them, and I think that's what creates the camaraderie and the brotherhood.
Do you encourage your players to keep in contact after they graduate and they go out into the world? Do you encourage them to stay in contact with you?
Well, I tell them the first law of nature is self-preservation, and you know, I understand that my job is a thankless job. Teaching and coaching is a thankless job. I often compare it to being a pilot on a plane. You know, the pilot's job is to get a group of individuals from point A to their destination. And a lot of times when people get off the plane, they just grab their overhead luggage and walk off the plane. No one tells the pilot, thank you. And that's kind of how coaching is. The lessons that we're teaching them, they're young. They're not going to understand it until they're 28, 30 years old. And then they'll come back and say, Coach, I definitely appreciate you looking out for giving me that life lesson and so on and so forth. So we stay on them and try to hold them accountable so they can be successful in the real world.
What are some of those valuable lessons that you do try to give to your players that you want to stick with, them as they go out?
Just the essence of manhood. A lot of them, you know, I grew up without a father. So I was in the streets, so I allowed the streets to define my manhood. When you become a man, you understand that was the dumbest thing that I've ever heard of. So being as though I'm a man with a wife and a family, and hopefully that's what they aspire to have one day, I just try to teach them the principles of manhood. And the first law of nature is self-preservation, and any man has to protect and provide for his family. But in order to do that, he has to be stable. And we also talk about the women, what women respect. Women don't respect no man where they can't look in that man's eyes and believe that there's going to be a positive outcome. So we want your chin to be up, your chest out, your shoulders up, because you're going to have to be the pillar of your family and the backbone of your family and the man of the household. And if you want a woman to follow you, got to give her something to follow. As you know, I'm sure you're smiling on that. So you
as I know, I try to at least. So Larry, being the fact that your Coach Moton gives you life lessons, how do you incorporate that into your daily life?
I just really try every day to be a better person from what I was yesterday. He tells us what we need to do, what's going to be out there. So I just try to make sure I stay focused and stay level-headed and just make sure I'm better the next day.
So as you graduate, what is your fondest memory of this season?
I would have to say is the team dinners. Everybody's just going downstairs playing 2K, playing Uno, playing on the little basketball goal, watching TV, and then after that, going upstairs and praying together and just eating food together. I'm gonna miss that a lot.
Oh, you can't go back? There's no more team dinner?
Well, he's still my kid's snacks. So they get missing when he comes, so I think he's
taking the fruit snacks from the baby?
Yeah, he's still in the fruit snacks.
Oh, my goodness.
He's still in the fruit snacks.
So there is a possibility that, you know, even after they graduate, they can still always find home.
Yeah, they always come back. They always come to
come
practice, and yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
So Larry, what type of advice do you give other young athletes who aspire to pursue their dreams?
I would just say just never give up and always just stay focused. You just got to be level-headed. You got to be determined that you're never going to give up and just always get it done. That's what I was taught, and Coach Moton gives us that lessons every day. Just always, it don't matter where you start from, it's how you finish.
Right, that's right. It doesn't matter where you start from. I got a story to tell with that as well. So tomorrow night, the Eagles will play their last game of the season at North Carolina A&T 7:30 in the Corbett Sports Center. Thank you all for tuning into the Grid Exclusive. We will see you back next week.